Aeolus, literally, I'm the only one that can see you.
Just
Okay, thank you for that.
I just. Oh, we got the
Yeah,
uh.
You don't have to do it again. I had enough.
yeah. Sorry.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of Reason, religiously educated atheists, secularists, and other non-theists. And I am visible.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You perform all the functions of a solid.
I'm visible today, and we're because last week, or actually the week before that, Skype was being sexist and racist. But now I'm back. We're going to turn it over to Dieter for some new science this week.
All right, so as we all obviously know, goddamn, as we all know, G,
Yeah. What?
your camera? Okay. Sorry, clicked off for a second.
Oh.
Electronics tend to use this system of altering the charge of materials, magnetic field stuff, and that way we're able to generate ones and zeros based off of the charge of electrons and atoms and all sorts of crazy physics magic. But another characteristic of electrons that we basically don't use is spin. Now, electrons can have something called I think it's up and down spin. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's basically how something would rotate in space. It's more complicated than that. Look it up. It's crazy. So the idea of using spin as opposed to charge in electronics means that we would be able to generate hard drives that use significantly less power and are able to maintain their state even when power is lost. These are two things that generally aren't able to happen with conventional electronics. These sort of systems are already being used in situations where, like, hardcore electronic radiation is something that's going to destroy everything. I think they're being used in stuff like fighter jets and in space travel. So already being used, it's already fantastic. The main issue right now is I'm pretty sure it's stupid levels of expensive, but that's just because the technology hasn't been refined completely. But that being said, it's going to happen, and we're going to be able to have incredible hard drives that are able to mark down the information they need perfectly every time and be read perfectly every time, and possibly be able to store more, but that's kind of up in the air because this is kind of going on a very core characteristic of electrons as opposed to overall charge. It's awesome. It's really cool, and I want it.
But yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. I'd be pretty. I'm pretty stoked to like for this kind of stuff to become like readily commercially available. Because I mean, if you think about how big our hard drives are getting now, I mean, if you add this into there, I wonder how much. Like, I wonder if they're gonna keep expanding or if they're gonna like have to go back down a ways and then start building back up, kind of like with the solid state drives.
It's the issue right now is I think reading them is slower, which is basically the worst thing you can have for advancing hard drive technology. So what they're thinking is this is going to be like a replacement for solid state drives, like for flash keys and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So it'll take basically zero power, will maintain the information basically forever. And yeah, so it'll probably work for certain applications, but at the same time, not that great. Oh, it says here up to 80% less power. So yeah, it's significant.
I was going to ask you if they had if they had an estimate up there yet about, a going price for, I don't know.
This is for like government bullshit. So the price is how much money can we give you?
All of the monies.
All of the money. But the research is being done by a whole bunch of manufacturers like Intel, Qualcomm, Toshiba, and Samsung. These are called MRAM devices to use for processor cache memory. So it could work. It's probably going to. It's a new technology, so people are still clamoring to get patents in and be awesome about it. But the advantages are numerous. They don't have to use the same kind of semiconductor technology the conventional hard drives have to use. They can use... I don't think they go like terribly into the physical components they need, but it's going to happen. It's neat like that.
Do you know what the M stands for in MRAM?
Uh,
would that
I
be
can
magnetic?
Google it.
Wait, so the system is called Spintronics. So Spintronics researchers have been working on introducing the same technology to computer memory, aiming to replace electronic current-based dynamic random access memory, or DRAM, with magnetic RAM, MRAM.
Okay,
Magneto-resistive.
The first commercial product was created by a company called Everspin, and it has been used in Airbus aircraft and BMW motorbikes due to its reliability under heat stress and cosmic ray exposure.
Magneto-resistive. That sounds like something Wolverine could really use in a fight against a supervillain.
Against a specific supervillain.
Yeah. But no, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And like I said,
It's a major advantage or advancement, taking advantage of a previously untapped characteristic of reality.
Well,
Good
I
job,
know,
science.
Yeah. Well, I know at one point weren't they looking into using what was it? Like crystals or some kind of crystal storage, or am I just thinking about some kind of science fiction?
I think that was happening, and the only thing you need for storage of any kind is an ability to write the information onto some substrate and then being able to read it later. So if you can, there's like people contemplating writing information, actual information, into DNA and having like biological computers. So it could literally be anything. So I would not be surprised at all if you could like grow crystals having information imbued onto them.
I think the practical use of that, though, is probably why they're not using it, because you really want to be able to also easily access the information. Something tells me that with crystals, and rewrite it, which wouldn't really happen with crystals.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just such a cool idea, because when you see like a glowing crystal, you're like, holy shit, there's something in there.
Stage Fright in the comments said crystal meth storage. This isn't Breaking Bad.
Not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
Good try.
And then Truth Begets Heresy says resonant crystalline GE. Yes, it works. But I think the practicality of it is the
resonant crystalline using amethyst to imprint high-end data on a physical medium. Okay. So I guess it kind of works.
Yeah, Tassine suggests kryptonite. That might be a little hard to come by, but you know.
I have some.
You have some?
Don't tell me where I got it.
Yeah. All right, so the main thing that we're going to be discussing tonight, along with intelligent design, is, of course, Kim Davis, which, hold on, my software froze up a second. There we go. So we have Kim Davis, and this is a particularly funny video I have to represent her. You know, of course, Kim Davis recently, she's been put in jail. She's become yet another Christian martyr in the fight against equality. But there have been a lot of different things that have been levied her way. And among those, there was actually a fake account on Twitter that was purporting to be her husband, but that's actually, like I said, it was a fake account. So, but still, people are definitely, they're definitely comparing her to civil rights era leaders. Maybe not necessarily Martin Luther King Jr., but like Rosa Parks and whatnot. So, what are y'all's thoughts on comparing her to the civil rights era activists?
My
I think that
favorite
it's a
response.
disgrace.
Oh, I agree. I think I like the best response when she compared herself to Rosa Parks. It's like, you're not Rosa Parks. You're the bus driver that told her to go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
Or no,
Yeah,
it's you're the
exactly.
bus driver. No, you're the bus driver that refused to start the bus until she got to the back of the bus.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
that's what Kim Davis is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the parallel that they're trying to draw, with that is the fact that she's being put in jail for defying, the current law or something like that, which is kind of telling in that they admit that it is law, but that's the only way that I can rationalize them considering her to be anything like Rosa Parks. But it would be more or less like an anti Rosa Parks is the way that I see her. Because like if there was like an anti universe where everything was the complete opposite, she would be. Yeah, I could agree. She would be like Rosa Parks.
It's just so ridiculous. Like, it's when you try to rebel against an unjust law, more often than not, it's because that law is repressing some group of people. Like, the segregation is like the easiest example for us all to understand historically, because it was relatively recently. And it's just like these people were just being denied every possible right. And so they needed to have a large movement. They were being oppressed. This is a situation where somebody who is that already has power over other people is using that power to fit their own agenda and then crying that they are being oppressed when they're told to stop doing that. Like, this is not oppression.
Well, yeah, and of course, everybody's throwing their hats into this ring right now, and among those, of course, is Joshua Feuerstein, which I know
I'll
is,
make a
is
video.
yeah.
Ugh.
One thing that he has said is that this is a Christian Holocaust.
Well, I know what my title's gonna be. This is not a
Joshua,
Christian Holocaust, Joshua. Part 3!
part 3.
This is the third time he said that.
Yeah.
It's not a Christian Holocaust, and it's not oppressing or punishing people for being a Christian. Basically, what it is, as we become more and more secularized and people actually get their freedoms and their rights, what the church has been able to do for so long, which is force their beliefs on other people. Slowly they've had to give up killing us, punishing us, and torturing us, to now basically stealing rights away from us. And now they're even being denied that privilege to take rights from others. They're calling it oppression.
Well, and they're hiding behind this banner of free speech, like the First Amendment, religious freedom. And the only thing I have to say to that is that your religious freedom it protects it on a very personal level. Like, our Constitution is set up so that you can have your own beliefs if you want, whatever beliefs that you want, you can express them. But if you're in a public servant capacity, you don't get the luxury of hiding behind, professing that. Because I mean, what you're doing is you're denying to do your job, and considering that you work for a secular government, whether or not you want to admit that it's secular or not, you're working for a secular government, and you have to follow the law of the land. And a lot of people are saying that, like, for instance, Mike Huckabee has this whole idea about judicial law, And what he says about judicial law, or what judicial law is he thinks that the Supreme Court actually makes laws or something like that. And but he fails to understand that the Supreme Court just interprets the Constitution or laws as they stand right now and makes a judgment as to how they apply to a certain case. And so, like, apparently he just disagrees. Now, one way that he's going about pointing out how disagreement might be beneficial and how he might be in the right is bringing up Dred Scott. If you're not familiar with the Dred Scott case, Dred Scott was a slave, right before the Civil War, and it was actually one of the issues that sparked, the Civil War. He took his owner or whatnot to court and tried to sue for his own personhood, right? And the Supreme Court ruled that he couldn't have personhood because he was black. And of course, that's bullcrap. But this Abraham Lincoln and a lot of people went against the Supreme Court and was and in that way they affected real change in bringing about the Civil War and fundamentally changing our Constitution. But where they fail, I feel, is that if you were to transpose these people to the Dred Scott era, they would be in support of the Supreme Court in that decision. Because, with like Mike Huckabee, he's a Southern preacher. That's what he's trained to be, is a Southern preacher. And the Southern Baptist preachers of the time were all like, yeah, he don't deserve rights. He's black. He's not a human. And so it doesn't make sense. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with you, and I can't figure out why. Well, actually, that's kind of silly. I can figure out why, but I don't get why they don't see how it's so obvious that they're on the wrong side of history every single time. Every single time. When has religion been on the right side of history?
Well, don't ask Joshua Feuerstein that question, because he'll say that he's on the right side of history.
And the funny thing is, we're going to look back on this in like 60 years, and the Christians then, they're going to be like, yeah, we were fighting for gay rights, and we fought for those rights, and it's all because of the Bible and Christianity, and that's how those gays got the rights to marry. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Another thing that's been said is that the LGBT community has the express purpose of putting Christians in jail. And I find that completely... I don't see how people can fall for that kind of rhetoric. I really don't. How can they see the LGBT community as just this community of people that are just like, yep, you either marry me or I'm going to put you in jail. I mean, I'd also like to see the Bible verse that says, thou shalt not issue marriage licenses for the state unless you're, doing it this certain way.
Well, you won't find that one, but you will find Romans 13:1, which says that you have to obey the authorities that are established, because there is no authority that has been established except that which has been established by God.
Well,
therefore, God wants gay marriage. Bitch.
Is that part written in as well? Little asterisk?
It should be. I'm going to write it into my Bible and take a picture of it.
You see, what's really crazy right now is outside of the courthouse or wherever Kim Davis is being held, there's like hundreds of protesters. Probably not right now, but there were at one point, and it's like, how do you even defend this position? It's just ridiculous. I get if people believe the same general idea, but just don't marry gay people if you don't want to. It's really not that hard to resist unless you're gay.
Well, no, come on now. I mean, that's asking way too much. You're asking these people to be reasonable. I mean, don't you think that's just a little bit too much to ask of them?
No, no, it's not. That's all I want.
Okay, so
I'm really hoping that the protest was exaggerated because I got that off like an offbeat news site, so I'm hoping it's fake. Please tell me it's fake.
uh,
Anyway, go.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say there's a short video, a really good one from the TV show. I believe it's West Wing. Occupied Democrats, I guess, put it together. But
Yep.
it's kind of like one of those video memes that people have kind of put. Okay. Hold on. I'll be right back. Y'all discuss how stupid she is real quick.
Oh,
Go ahead,
G's
Dieter.
house is on fire.
Go ahead, Dieter.
I'm just. What? I was talking? I'll talk some more. All right, so. Uh, I keep saying this over and over again. The situation itself is ridiculous. This is an individual who has been hired to represent the people in her community. But instead of doing that, she's just she's refusing. She was given every possible out to get out of this situation she's put herself in. Like she appealed or whatever it's called, she wasn't given a stay, whatever that means, and she was found in contempt or she was found wrong. Then she was found in contempt of court. She had every opportunity to get out of this. She's not a martyr, she's an idiot.
I think the
Rage.
problem is, I think the problem is that people are oblivious to privilege. And I mean, we've seen this with everything from, white privilege to Christian privilege to all these different privileges. People are just so oblivious to it. They can't even see the privilege that they think that once that privilege is being taken away, that the rights are being taken away. And the lines are so blurred between rights and privilege for these people that they think that they're being persecuted. And I used to be a Christian, and sadly, I used to think the same exact way. Like, what? We can't teach the Bible in school. We can't have school sanctioned prayers. Like all of that crazy nonsense. But the truth is, there is the least amount, if any, persecution going on here in the United States of Christians. Real persecution is when 72 Christians in the Middle East get beheaded, or when Christians are set on fire for their Christian beliefs, or when Christians are forced to pay the jizya and then they're treated like, fourth or fifth class citizens. Like that's persecution. When your actual fundamental human rights are being taken away, that's persecution. It's a little more nuanced than that, but as a basic definition, I'll just have to do.
I mean, I'll go one step further and even say, like, if any Christian lives in a situation where their government officials or whatever are saying, I'm not going to hire you, or I'm not going to give you service, or I'm not going to do all these things because you're a Christian, then you're being persecuted for your beliefs. If you're being denied things because of your religion, then that's persecution. But when you voluntarily take a job, take an oath, and then go completely against both what that job requires as well as the oath you gave, then you're not being persecuted. You're breaking the laws that you agreed to. Like, she could be like a million other things and hate gay people. That's okay, I guess, in a legal sense. But you're not allowed to be someone that decides whether or not someone gets married and then refuse to let people get married based off your own personal convictions. If people don't qualify to be married, I don't exactly know what qualifications you need to be married, but say you don't meet them, then sure, that's necessary discrimination. But that's not what you're doing. Ugh.
I think too also that Christianity is it's not one of the only religions, but it's like the main religion that teaches that its adherents are going to be persecuted. Like Jesus himself said in the Bible, that you're going to be persecuted because of me. It also says in the last days, the persecution of Christians will come. And I think that what that does is it builds up this community of people that are expecting and looking for that persecution so that they can feel relevant as a Christian, you know, so they're looking for any example that they can find of being persecuted. Not only that, but I'm going to read you this quote by John Rogers, which talks about how we all are actually looking for that, but this religion just happens to magnify it. He says, one of the great secrets of human nature is that the one thing people want more than love, security, sex, chocolate, or big screen TVs is to feel hard done by. Why? Because being hard done by is the shit. Feeling hard done by is the sweetest of drugs. If you're being persecuted, it must mean you're doing the right thing, right? You get the mellow buzz of the moral high ground, but without arrogantly claiming it as your own. You get an instant supportive community in a big, dark, scary world of such scope, it may well be literally beyond rational human processing. When you are hard done by, you get a purpose in life where otherwise you'd have to find it on your own. And when you ride that high, then no amount of logic, no amount of pointing out in actuality that you and your beliefs are at a high point of popularity and influence for the last 100 years is going to pry that sweet crack pipe of moral indignation from your hands.
So it's really just the desperate desire to feel relevant to the world?
Pretty much. That's what we all have. That though.
No, I totally understand. I'm a shit on YouTube. I obviously understand that.
We all have that, but what I'm saying is that the religion magnifies that by telling you that you're going to suffer because of me. That's what Jesus says. You're going to suffer in my name, and so they're actively looking for that suffering. Like when they suffer, like think about what Mother Teresa taught. Like, you know, suffering it brings you closer to God, and so she withheld medicine from people, and she did all these other horrible things to incite pain and suffering for all those people.
So many negative things to say.
Yeah, we probably should just move on from that.
Well, I was gonna show this video real quick. So if you guys don't mind muting yourselves or being okay with a little bit of feedback, it's really short. It's only about 1.5 minutes long.
All right, muting.
Do it.
Homosexuality is an abomination, Mr. President. The Bible does.
Yes, it does. Leviticus
18:22.
chapter and verse. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions while I had you here. I'm interested in selling my youngest daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus 21:7. She's a Georgetown sophomore, speaks fluent Italian, always cleared the table when it was her turn. What would a good price for her be? While thinking about that, can I ask another? My chief of staff, Leo McGarry, insists on working on the Sabbath. Exodus 35:2 clearly says he should be put to death. Am I morally obligated to kill him myself, or is it okay to call the police? Here's one that's really important, because we've got a lot of sports fans in this town. Touching the skin of a dead pig makes one unclean, Leviticus 11:7. If they promise to wear gloves, can the Washington Redskins still play football? Can Notre Dame? Can West Point? Does the whole town really have to be together to stone my brother John for planting different crops side by side? Can I burn my mother in a small family gathering for wearing garments made from 2 different threads? Think about those questions, would you? One last thing. Well, you may be mistaking this for your monthly meeting of the ignorant tight-ass club. In this building, when the president stands, nobody sits.
Uncomfortable woman I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was very good acting. So, well done.
Yeah. Which
You're still muted, you asshole.
Which I have to say that just because I've been in several discussions with people that, you know, hold to the whole Leviticus thing, but yet don't hold to the whole, you got to stone somebody that wears clothing of multiple fabrics. They would say that it's more of it's a cultural law or something like that, or rather, or no, wait, the homosexuality part is a moral law, and then they'll cite stuff like in Romans and other things in the New Testament in order to.
Still muted.
Yep, still muted, buddy.
How about now?
There you go.
Good job.
All right, so basically what happens is, anything that you try to point out to them, like getting tattoos, not standing in the presence of the elderly, working on the Sabbath, trimming your beard,
Wait, not standing
gossiping.
in the presence of the elderly?
Yep, that's in there. That is, hold on, I've got it
What?
here. Leviticus 19 and 32. Tail-bearing or gossiping, eating lobster and shellfish, braided hair for women, costly garments and jewelry, divorce, and basically the other 6 things that God hates. They tend to ignore those things, and they try to play the New Covenant or the New Testament card. But then they basically ignore the fact that the person who they think is God, Jesus Christ, actually told them that the law will be binding until the end of time, and not one jot or tittle of the law would pass until heaven and earth pass away themselves.
Where are these listed? I got my handy Bible.
Let me finish my rant here. And so it also turns out that if you turned a blind eye to the law, everything, even your prayer, becomes an abomination. Proverbs 28:9. So with that being said, if you continue to willfully sin after being born again, then basically you're shit out of luck. Hebrews 10 and 26. Which one did you want a reference for?
The standing around old people.
Leviticus 19 and 32.
I'm on 18.
Go ahead and read it to us. See what it says. Make sure I'm not just drunk and my reference is right.
Stand up in the presence of the elderly and show respect for the aged. Fear your God, I am the Lord. So you have to show respect for the aged people, but you're also not allowed to stand in the presence of them.
No. You have to stand in the presence of them.
Oh, okay, so these are saying things that you have to do.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
You're supposed to
I
stand
thought
in
you
the
said you're not
presence
allowed to
and
stand
respect.
around old people.
No,
That confused the hell out of me for a second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a video at some point where I read all 600 laws you have to follow, all in a row, nonstop.
I remember going to church one time, and because I'm Native American and I come from an area where it's like roughly 80% Native American, people braided their hair. And I remember telling this lady in church that God thought that braiding your hair and wearing jewelry and things like that was an abomination, and she freaked the fuck out, man. She freaked out bad.
You were at the situation.
At me, like, oh, you're taking it out of context, blah blah blah. But I mean, if you want
It's
to
in
read
a
that,
list. What context do you need?
it's always that, and then they try to hit you with the but it was written for these people at this time. Yeah, well, so was the writings on homosexuality. Okay, but you wanna have that one for this time and say that God's law is forever when it benefits you, but when it's going to put you out there on the edge where you can't braid your hair and wear jewelry, then you want to cry, oh, it's context. It's contextual.
Yeah.
No, you see, I've always seen the passage about homosexuality that, what was it? Man shall not lie with mankind as one lies with womankind. All that says to me is that 2 guys can't fuck each other in their vaginas. And that's not a problem for gay guys.
So Leviticus is just being factual. I get it. Yeah, I can see that.
Then again, it's extremely rude to transgender people. That's not cool, Bible. Not cool.
Yeah.
I actually kind of going off on a tangent here, but I actually stumped this girl the other day, right? So she was trying to tell me about what the Bible says that men and women can't do, and I just completely blew her mind when I told her that I was a woman. it just completely like. She said that I can't
to be
trust
fair,
that
I've tried
science
explaining
stuff.
that to people, and it blows their minds.
She said that you can't trust that science stuff, and just because you have 2 X chromosomes does not mean you're a female, you're still a male, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay.
Can we just understand that defining what a gender is going to be the most freaking difficult thing ever?
A female, or does it because I appear to be a male that makes me a male? Is it genitalia or genitals that determine like my gender? Like it just really completely blew her mind.
It's like, are castrated men now women? What if someone gets a vasectomy? Are they only like 75% man? Is it the actions that someone can perform? Because with the wonderful invention of science, people can basically perform any actions they want. It's all just a complete mess.
That's a pretty good lead into our second one, our second topic.
Completely on purpose.
Yeah, is intelligent design. We all have our favorite, arguments against intelligent design, and so I figured it might be a good idea to kind of go through those. So, Alis or Dieter, if you want to take the lead on it.
Wait, we're just going through every argument for intelligent design?
No.
But,
we had our chat today where I said my favorite one, and I know you've got your favorite one. I don't want to steal your spotlight or anything with your favorite.
Wait. Is there an actual? Wait. There's an argument for intelligent design.
No. Like argument against intelligent design.
Okay.
I'll go first on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you just go first. Lead me into this.
Here's my biggest argument against intelligent design. Okay, it's basically the creationism with a fancy name and a bunch of word salad. But the thing about this is, if you ever notice that intelligent design proponents never do what is necessary in scientific fields to prove a theory. They're not going out in labs. They're not proposing it has predictive power or explanatory power. It does absolutely nothing for the scientific field. But what you see them doing is they're going on the news. They're trying to get it taught in schools. It really just seems like they've accepted, maybe subconsciously, that they have no science to back it up, and that's why they're not in the scientific field trying to prove or trying to do experiments that will get the results that they want. So instead, they're going on almost what seems like a public relations campaign by using politicians and celebrities to promote intelligent design. And for me, that's the biggest argument against it. If you don't have any evidence whatsoever, you can't point to one thing that intelligent design can explain or predict in a repeated manner so that other people can test it and come up with the same substantial evidence to back it up. To me, that's the biggest argument against it. That should really just blow it out of the water there.
You see, that's exactly what I was going to say, so goddamn. The ability
you and I are usually on the same train, so I tried to go first so I could get it out.
You kind of glossed over the big thing I wanted to talk about, and that's the ability to make predictions. So for something to be a scientific theory, like evolution, it needs to have the capacity to make predictions about the world. That's kind of the idea. A theory explains a large amounts of facts about the observable universe, and based off of that information, they can then make predictions, they can make models that make predictions, and then it's able to generate a much more elaborate and comprehensive understanding of the world around us. Evolution can make those sort of predictions. The kind of go-to prediction I like giving is the thing with Tiktaalik. Tiktaalik is that awesome fish amphibian thing that is... I think it was in, not the Devonian period, that's way too old. It doesn't matter. It was a long-ass time ago, and the idea is we didn't know where they were, but we knew where we knew where fish were, and we knew where amphibians were. So we knew the ages of the rock in which those things are found. So all we needed to do was find some exposed layer of rock that was the appropriate age. We knew where that was, we started digging, and we fucking found it. That's the predictive power of evolution. Intelligent design has nothing. Literally nothing. All the claims they actually make. No. I'm talking.
Yeah.
Mr. Asshole Face.
Oh,
You
wait,
put the
that's
sunglasses-
GE Man. It's GE Man.
I know what it is, so I'm going to finish first. So yeah, that's the idea. Intelligent design only makes bald-faced claims. It doesn't have anything to do with actually predictive power, nothing that can be represented, nothing that can be substantiated. It's basically just saying, you can't explain this thing that I am describing, therefore your theory is wrong and mine is right. And now, every time they make one of those claims, it actually can be explained, so they fail even at their bullshit attempt at disproving a theory.
I really don't see a problem with what you just with the evidence you just gave right there. I mean, of course, I've got a book, and it says that you know only one kind of animal could come after another kind of animal. Okay, so now listen.
Yes,
okay,
evolution says that as well.
No, evolution is wrong because it says that a bird can turn into a donkey. Okay, that's what evolution says. It's
you are a liar.
A bird could be flying through the air and then poop out a donkey. That is what evolution says.
Nothing but lying.
No, that's not a lie. That's what evolution. I read my textbooks down here in the South. That's what it says. They had a bird flying, and then all of a sudden a donkey appeared. Okay, that's just how evolution works, and I would really appreciate
Didn't
it.
the Bible
if you people
describe animals evolving by physically being born by trees painted in stripes and stuff?
Don't get all scientific on me now, okay? I haven't really studied the scientific portions of the Bible, all right? I don't know how God does that with the witch knowledge and the chromosomal stuff, whatever.
Yes, the things that people that wrote the Bible didn't have any idea what they were.
Oh, they had an idea. They just described it as designs in a tree. It's like, I mean, if you can't see chromosome from design, from stripes in a tree, I don't know what to do with you.
GE Man, tell them about how these homosexuals are rebelling against the intelligent design of man and woman reproducting.
Well, okay, now listen. This one I take to heart. Okay, now listen. If a man ejaculates into another man's rectum, he is just adding to the evil. Okay, that's why God created women, because they're already evil. If you ejaculate your evil into their evil, then that evil just kind of negates, and so you purify the woman when you ejaculate your evil into her. See, that if you ejaculate your evil into the luscious anus of another man, then you're just making him even more. And then
Damn it! I tried to go stone face the whole time.
And we sure does know that they have luscious buttocks.
They do. They have luscious anuses. I mean, that people say that homosexuality isn't a choice, it isn't a choice that you're born that way. But I gotta tell you, being down here in the South, I make the choice every day not to go out and suck dick. I mean, I have that need every single day to go out there and just be like, Oh, these Southern boys out here got them big dicks, and I just want one in my mouth so bad. But no, I'm sucking dick for Jesus. That's what I do. See, and that's how I do it.
Where do you live that there's just like gay people just wandering the streets looking for people to suck their dicks?
It's like
hold signs or something?
they're holding signs like "We'll suck dick for food."
Well, yeah, I mean,
I worry about you.
I go across the bridge every single day to work, okay? To work in the fields with the other luscious little men, and I see them holding up signs saying, "We'll work for food." I can only imagine that they mean that they will suck my dick, or I can suck their dick. I mean, me and Pastor Jay, we have discussions on this all night long, and sometimes we fight about whose dick is going to get sucked that night. I mean, no, we don't fight about that at all. No, because we're Christian. We just suck dick for Jesus. I mean, God.
As long as you don't continue on in the sin and you ask for forgiveness.
Exactly.
No,
Now,
apparently that doesn't matter.
now listen, okay, intelligent. Okay, look, let's get back on the subject. Let's quit talking about luscious man booty. All right. Now, look, intelligent design just makes complete and utter sense. Okay, because I mean, there's this flagellum on a bacterium, and I don't know all the scientific behind it, but look, it just makes sense that God would have made that particular flagellum. Okay, because it's got motors and shit on it, and it does like this little wiggly thing. And you know, how can that be natural? It can't. That's got to be designed by God. You know, I mean, if you transposinate that stuff on into bigger things, you know, into our daily lives, like think about it. Think about a car. Do you think a car just whooshed into existence like that? You think it evolved out of like some iron ore? Like you leave some iron ore there for a little bit, you watch it some more, and then poof, it evolves immediately like a Pokemon into a Corvette. Ain't that ridiculous?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Okay, no, but seriously.
These Satanists and their scientism.
Yeah, I know. No, but okay, seriously. So for intelligent design, me personally, one thing that they like to do is, you know, especially like Ken Ham supporters and all that, they like to go on about the different kinds of animals, right? You know, how one kind can only come or a kind of animal can only come after another kind and whatnot. Well, see, in the Bible, they delineate kinds by being species that can reproduce with each other. And so one pretty good argument that I like to throw out usually is ring species, which, you know, in every conversation that I've had, they've always been like, I don't know what ring species is, so, and they just refuse to have any kind of conversation about me with it. But, you know, with ring species, you have one species and it diverges onto two different paths and it comes out the other side. And they've changed so much that they look the same. They look like they're the same kind of animal, but yet they can't reproduce with each other because they're so radically different. And so, like, would that make them two different kinds? So, I mean, you know, Dieter was talking about the predictive power of evolution compared to intelligent design. If you were to use the predictive power of intelligent design with how the Bible lays it out, technically those would have to be two different kinds of animals. And, you know, that's just using definitions laid out in the Bible. And so therefore you would need one of that species of whatever and one of that species of whatever on the ark, presumably, you know, from a creationism standpoint, in order for,
in that context, it makes, so I'm always one of those strange people that actually reads the Bible in context of where they actually lived.
Yeah.
So in that way, I could totally see the number of animals that they would be regularly exposed to, even if they go by their definition of kind, which is kind of just a bastardization of species. That could probably fit on a pretty big boat. They probably only actually see maybe like 4 or 5 dozen different animals.
That's pretty true.
Oh yeah.
I never thought about it that way before.
Well, yeah, but you know, that's not at all how they propose it. I mean, they propose it like, you know, that it was every single species in the world, and like God did this massive...
That's the thing, though, is that was their world. Their world, like, you see that map where it's like everything that ever happened in the Bible happened within this circle. It's not completely accurate, but it's still like a pretty small proportion of the world.
Oh yeah, I know.
Their world was tiny, just like everyone else's world in that time period.
Well, I mean, if you take it in that way, you know, it's actually really funny that they usually throw out the whole context issue with us. Like, oh, you're taking that out of context. It's like, okay, well, you're taking your entire thing, your entire argument out of context here, because their entire world, revolved around this one little area that probably only had a few dozen species in it.
What the hell
That's
happened to the
pretty true.
chat?
Yes, that's pretty true. So there was no kangaroos burying their bones along the way, or picking up their bones along the way instead of burying them as they got off.
Let me tell it. That's my favorite.
Go ahead.
All right, so one of my favorite things ever about the whole idea of Noah's Ark as proposed in a modern context, I think Thunderfoot of YouTube didn't tell me specifically, but mentioned this first. It's this idea of, okay, so let's say all the animals from the entire Earth went to the Middle East, got on a boat, and then went back to their homes. So, are you saying that that the entire population of kangaroos, or just the kangaroos that somehow made it back to Australia, just picked up every single bone of every single member of their family that died along the way? The generations of animals that had to exist on their massive trek back to Australia. That's what they're saying. Those are the sort of questions that I want to ask, that I would love to ask in a conversation with someone that's debating intelligent design, especially coming from a biblical standpoint. Because that's basically what they're saying.
Well,
that every single animal had to carry their bones and distribute them evenly along where they ancestrally grew up. This is also ignoring the bigger issue of why is there not one single strata of all life on Earth that's dated some couple thousand years ago.
Well,
that doesn't exist.
But then you get arguments like this, like, well, I don't know. Okay, I don't know God. God knows better than me. Okay, his wisdom is higher than ours. That's in the Bible. I can't cite the verse. I'm not a Bible scientist, but just God did it. That's all you have to worry about. Is God did it. That's what the Bible says, and you don't even need to worry about specifics. I mean, that's quite literally what the kind of responses you would get, like, if you were to ask those questions. Which I feel, huh?
Don't blame the story. Don't blame the geography. Don't blame the science. If you want to blame somebody, blame God. God saw fit to do it this way, and you atheists are just a bunch of scumbags doubting him and his word and trying to rebel all the time.
I'm disappointed in everybody.
Dieter's like, I'm not participating in this G-Man shenanigans.
Did you
the next time I see you,
about...
I'm making you eat those sunglasses.
Do what?
The next time I see you, I'm making you eat those sunglasses.
Speaking of the next time you're going to be seeing him, GE, you should go ahead and shamelessly plug that GE Apostacon link, because I saw you were at like 365 earlier today.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. I've actually got a couple of ways that people can help me out there. If they want. Hold on.
Are we going to talk about that one pastor that's charged with felonies for beating the children?
Yeah.
Way to bring us down, bruh.
Hey, hold on.
I can't wait to meet Dieter in real life and look up like this at him.
Yeah, Dieter's a tall guy. He's.
I can't wait to meet you, Aeolus, and your gaze alone will make my muscles retreat in on themselves.
Yeah, here we go. All right, yeah. So if you guys are interested, I've got this Apostacon thing that on GoFundMe that I'm doing, and let me. down a little bit here so you can see all these little nice perks that I have. Oh, come on. I was trying to increase the size of it so that you can really see. But yeah. So like at these different levels, like at $10, if you give $10, holy shit, you get a small piece of swag from the event. So each one of these, if you want to go and look it up, it's actually linked down. The help get me to a Posticon link in the description. You know, if you want to get some swag and help me get out there and broadcast live from the event, then you know I've got that thing going.
Swag.
And then, yeah, swag. I've been using those kind of words just because it's the best way for me to actually, convey what I'm trying to say. But I also have
Swagger in the bagger.
Yeah.
If you were a rock star, you'd be Mick Swagger.
swagger. All right.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and then I've also got this shirt in case you don't want anything from the event, but you still want to get something kind of cool. I've got this shirt, Got Evidence. That'll be, I'll go ahead and I'll put that down here as well. It's just,
Swag.
yeah. No,
Damn, y'all see that shirt? It's looking pretty fly, right? You see it over there? They got that Hanes tagless tee for $15. Y'all better head over there right now to that Teespring link and get that Got Evidence tee. You heard me?
yeah. I just put
Swag.
it in the
Everyone
description.
heard you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I just put it down in the description box. If you wanna get a Got Evidence T-shirt, refresh the page. You'll be able to get the link and get over there. They'll be available until Tuesday. They're definitely getting printed, so hurry up and get it. And yeah, it'll be great. You'll get the shirt, and plus, you'll get to see me broadcast live from the event. So yeah, there's that.
I've got a question.
Okay.
Do they have it in a tank top version?
I think I might have put it on there to be a tank top. Hold on, let me. I think so, but I think the tank top version. Hold on.
This is boring. Move on to the next section.
All right, so while he's doing that, there was a pastor out there that he almost made Hypocrite of the Week, but then we realized that nothing that he was doing was actually hypocritical. And he has been charged with several felony counts of beating children with a wooden paddle so severely that they bruised and I guess scarred, and they had scrapes on them. And I think he was also tying them up too. Was he doing that, GE?
Let me see.
Anyway, he was not sparing the rod. Okay.
Yeah,
So
let's see. It says what the law doesn't permit is to take a wooden paddle and beat 8 and 11 and 14-year-old children to the point where they have extensive and severe bruising on their backs and their backsides and their legs. While trying to learn more about the organization, they found a description on Facebook: a boys' home under the authority of Crossroads Baptist, reaching school-age boys heading down the paths of destruction. Yeah. So I mean, the boys have been removed from the facility, and they're getting help. So.
Proverbs 13 and 24: spare the rod and spoil the child. So beat that motherfucker. Proverbs 19 and 18: chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. So if he's crying, beat that ass harder. Proverbs 20 and 30: the blueness of a wound cleanseth away evil, so do stripes the inward parts of the belly. So basically, whip that motherfucker so hard that he has bruises and he's bleeding. Proverbs 23, 13 through 14. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shall deliver his soul from hell. Therefore, you must beat your child, and beat him as hard as you can, because no matter how hard you beat him, he's not going to die, and you're saving him from hell. God has spoken.
I can't really think of a
Yay,
situation
God.
beating someone actually saves them from something.
Well, you
Maybe
know,
like
go ahead, Dieter.
a roid rage, maybe.
Well, you know that's along the same principles as Mother Teresa. You know, she felt that increased pain brought you closer to Jesus.
Which is just utterly insane and barbaric.
Well, right, exactly. But I mean, it just goes to show you how far they'll go, to justify causing other people pain, say that kind of thing. Do you want to go ahead and head
Is it
into?
because that's how they were raised, or is it that they literally have no idea how parenting works?
Well, the best thing that I can surmise out of this is that the only way for them to really process the fact that evil stuff happens in the world, or evil stuff happens to them, or bad shit happens to them, even though they're totally sucking dick for Jesus, is the fact that they say that, well, bad shit's gonna happen, and it's... when this bad shit happens, you get closer to God or whatever. And so that's the only way that I can rationalize it, is that, they tell themselves these things in order to be okay with them happening.
Yeah, that's probably right, and that's really sad.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to go ahead and head into Hypocrite of the Week?
Yeah, we're going to head into my favorite segment of Reason. Hypocrite of the Week! Woo! This week's Hypocrite of the Week is going to a volunteer at a church. You have it pulled up, G?
Yep.
Yeah. Reynaldo Navarez. He was a church volunteer who also was a traveling volunteer at multiple other churches. And he used to get kids from the churches and teach them private music lessons outside of church time. Basically, he's been charged with doing some pretty bad shit to a 9-year-old boy, including rape with a foreign object, and who knows what else he's been charged with. But anyway, Lucy says she muted just in time.
If only we could all be so lucky.
Come on, we're on episode, 42 now. You guys should know that this is coming. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and talk about this guy and how he has taken advantage of his position within the church to secure position outside of the church to come into contact with more children, even though he's only been charged with this one children who I think the abuse continued for over 4 years with him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta wonder why these things last as long as they do. I mean, I guess maybe it's just my own personal ignorance on the issue. Because, I mean, I would hope that if anything were to happen to my son, he would immediately tell me. So I wonder what the home life was that made him too afraid to confront somebody about it.
Well, you would think that, but if you had been raising your son in the church and told him that he needs to follow God and Jesus and do what the pastor says, and basically in religious environments, the pastor or the priest is like he's the fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like he's at the top, and whatever he says is God's law, is God's word. So this guy being a church volunteer who has maybe some sort of position of power, over these children. And the boy also was 9 years old. I mean, way too young to try to tell someone that he's being sexually abused. I think that has a lot to do with it. And I mean, if he says that you can't tell anyone that this is doing the right thing for God or Jesus, now we don't know that he actually said that, but I'm sure there have been molesters that have said that. You've got to kind of realize that they're using that position to take advantage of these children. And I know you've seen at the top it says religion hurts humanity, and I catch a lot of flack for this, but it's only because I post these memes on Religion Hurts Humanity, the Facebook page, and I'm not actually saying that because of the religion this happened, but I'm most definitely sure that he used the religion to ensure that this happens. This is why it says that he volunteered at several other churches. He was aware that this system worked for him, and he was abusing this system of trust within these churches to take advantage of these children.
And one thing I wanted to add, just in general, even outside of the religious aspect of this, when kids are abused, they can go through a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different ways that they can reconcile that in their heads. And sometimes it can manifest as shame. Sometimes it can just be straight embarrassment. It can even be fear. And this is just the kid trying to deal with what happened, external to all of the stuff that was actually done to the child, including threats or whatever. So even if there was no religious aspect to this, it still is possible that kids will have a very difficult time working through it at all. So I don't really,
it
let's doesn't make anything better. Too. It's just it's a little more nuanced.
I mean, let's make it clear. Any position of power. I mean, just being an adult to a child.
There doesn't even need to be a position of power necessarily.
It doesn't have to be, but we wanted to be clear that we're not saying that just because it was a position of power that's why the kid didn't come forward and it lasted for 4 years. Like, that's not what we're saying.
No, yeah, and that's just what I'm expanding on, is there's a lot of psychological bullshit that especially a child has to go through from being put in that kind of situation. So,
well,
very glad it came to light, and hopefully the kid can get some help.
Yeah. I think a lot of people disregard a major part of religion. Because, I mean, I think that they take just the religion at the dogma itself. But religion has really become way more than just a dogma. I mean, religion is a systematic organization. I mean, each organization is different in its own respect. But, religions is overall an organization. And I think that, saying the kind of community or the kind of atmosphere that religion creates in these organizations is what seems to me in this case how religion hurts humanity, because it creates this sort of environment that allows these predators to really find victims, assault them, and if they get caught, they just get forgiven and then released back into the wild. And people are like, oh, well, he got caught before, but, he prayed to God, and now he's cool with God. He won't do it again. And so they give him more opportunities to continue to, hurt other people, hurt kids. And so I think in that way, religion definitely hurts humanity in this situation because of that kind of culture that it creates within its own organization.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably like at least 5 individuals in positions of power in the church that are brought up on charges similar to this every single day.
Well, yeah, so, that's because like I remember that one episode where we had stated that it's more like the individuals that would actually take advantage of children or other people in these organizations are drawn to these positions of power rather than the positions make them. It's that they're already that way and they are drawn to these positions of power because they see the appeal of them.
Yeah, and
That
I'll
makes more
always
sense.
revert back to Dieter's example where he said that perhaps they're trying to, and I'm going to paraphrase this a lot, but perhaps they're trying to correct this issue and they think that religion is going to do it for them. And in doing so, they're becoming really involved in the church, and next thing you know, they become someone with a position of power, which enables them to be tempted even more, especially in churches. I know I'm kind of paraphrasing what you said there, Dieter, but I thought it was a
No,
very
no.
good example of how a child molester can get into a position of power, not even knowingly attempting to abuse that position of power.
I always assume that people are either misguided or ignorant of the situation. I very rarely assume that people are malicious because maliciousness takes so much work. So in those situations, I agree with myself. It's this idea that just to kind of expand on what Aola said, if you're somebody that feels like you're having urges that you can't control and you were raised in a society where people basically tell you the only way you can cure yourself of bad feelings or bad urges is through the church, and you'll go to the church, like impulses manifest, then you try to get them fixed through the church system. But then you might find yourself in a position of power. You might be told by everyone around you that you're perfect and your decisions are great. And then you just get more and more into this mindset that what you're doing, even if it's bad, is justified. Or even worse, if you do something horrible, it can be instantly forgiven and everything is okay. It's not okay.
Right.
And with those positions of power just really comes more temptation for these people that may actually be trying to seek what they believe is help, because as you mentioned, we're living in a society where Jesus is the only way or religion is the only way, instead of seeking actual psychological help for these issues. And you know, guys, I know that you're probably getting tired of seeing child molester priests.
It's all. It's a very.
We've been tired of it since like the 5th episode when we had to do it. But we've kept this thing going because someone needs to highlight this issue that we're seeing in religious communities. And yeah, we try our best to find hypocrites who are not molesting children. But the problem is there's just so many of these bastards out there that it's hard not to report on these guys. And somebody's got to do it. It's super fucking depressing for us every week to do this. It's hella depressing for me to make these memes for the page every single day. But the problem is there's just such a huge number of people that are abusing these positions of power, and someone has to address it. At least that's what I keep telling myself in order to continue this, because it's really depressing when we have to talk about this every night.
And if we have any luck, this kind of system will actually be addressed in a really real sense. And then these people that try to seek out the church for help will find actual help. And then none of these horrible series of events will ever happen again.
I think that'll be
What
a
a world
long
that
time
would
to
be.
come, but yeah, I think that is definitely a really good goal to work towards.
All right, we can go ahead and stamp this guy, Dieter. Go ahead and stamp him with hypocrite of the week, Reynaldo Navarez, for committing sodomy with a 9-year-old, continuous sexual abuse for 4 years, forcible lewd acts, rape by foreign objects, and oral copulation and sexual penetration with a 9-year-old boy. And who knows how many others you have in the various other churches in the area where you were teaching private music lessons to students you met at the churches. We're going to stamp you with Hypocrite of the Week. We hope that you get help first and foremost, but because you have committed such horrible crimes, you have to be punished. Even though I made a joke earlier about paying me to torture these child molesters, what we want first and foremost is for people to seek help first. We want people to get actual help for these issues. We don't just want to punish people. We're advocates for help, psychological help, obviously not religious. And we want people to be able to deal with these things. But if you commit crimes, you've got to be punished for them.
And the punishment that I would always advocate is just that you cannot be around the people that you are going to hurt. Or rather, that you have shown you have no ability to stop yourself from hurting. So, prison relocation, if that's a thing that police still do. Man, there's no real good way to solve these problems yet.
No.
Well, we also live in a society that turns a blind eye to pedophilia or seeking help for people or even developing research and help for these people, but instead simply punishing them when the event occurs. And I think that kind of sets us up for failure.
Would be the best situation would be like, obviously we've belabored this point to death, but this idea that prisons should be treatment centers, 100%. They shouldn't be, like, correctional facility isn't even a good enough term for them. I want them to be treatment centers. So that when someone commits a crime, what you do is you say, holy shit, what the hell's wrong? What can we do to make sure you never commit this crime again? That's what I want. Make that, society. Make this happen. Or I'll do it.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up, huh, GE?
Yeah, definitely. I think tonight we had a pretty good show. We discussed the Kim Davis situation along with some intelligent design, arguments against intelligent design. So I hope that you guys will go and subscribe to Dieter here as well as God Works Out or Alice. I'll have their links in the description box below directly after this live stream. I'm going to try to get it in there beforehand so that people can actually just go down there and click it right away. But yeah, I was lazy today. Sorry about that, guys. But anyways,
Judging.
Yeah, I know. Go subscribe to these guys. They've got awesome content. Dieter is really obsessed with Joshua Feuerstein, or rather his fans.
Not by choice. You people.
He just happens to be the loudest fucking idiot out there.
Everyone keeps sending me his videos.
And to me that gives me hope, that this guy, he may be the loudest motherfucker out there and he's getting all these shares and follows, but at the end of the day, he's really turning more people who are Christians off from him than he is turning them on. And to me, I feel like that's kind of a good thing. I want him to continue being loud, obnoxious, and idiotic, because what that does is it outlines and it highlights the idiocy of fundamental Christianity, which is exactly what the Westboro Baptist Church does.
I made a specific video called like Joshua Feuerstein and fingernails because I painted my nails ridiculous colors. It's in the video. Go look for it. And I basically described Joshua Feuerstein as a lightning rod of bad arguments. He seems to just have nothing but concentrated bad arguments. And I describe it as, I make a 10-minute video on Joshua Feuerstein. It's worth like 5 videos made on 5 other people.
Yeah.
So, if he keeps making them, I'll keep responding, but I'll be pissed off about it every time.
Yeah. Well, he's like a Gish Gallop of Facebook, to be honest, because he'll put out a like 2.5-minute video and you'll spend about 10 minutes refuting it. But by the time that you get done refuting it, putting it together in a video form and posting it, he's already got 5 other videos that he's posted that are just as long and take just as long to refute. So
I should just refute them live so I don't have to edit them.
Okay.
That'll save me so much time.
Yeah.
I'll do like a weekly event. Data responds live to Joshua Feuerstein.
It's yeah. You can do it. You can do it on like Friday afternoons as soon as you get off work and get in. Just open up his page. Just go down the page and hit play. There's a whole week's worth of refuting right here. Only took me.
Why do
an
I
hour.
even need to get up? I don't even have to leave my house anymore. I have all the entertainment I need.
Yeah, I know. But yes,
we're done.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We've had a pretty steady stream of about 20 people watching. So be sure to let your friends know about this conversation. Let them know that it happened. And if you found what we talked about pretty interesting, it is a bi-weekly, which we figured out last time means either twice a week or every 2 weeks for some reason.
I already forgot what that means. So
it means
whatever.
both. Yeah, but you'll find us again in 2 weeks. I'll go ahead and set up the show now. So I'll see you guys later. Y'all have a nice night, and I hope you guys have a great Labor Day holiday.
Let's give a shout out to all our viewers who have stayed loyal and have continued watching the show, even though it has moved from my channel to GE's channel. And may reason forever outweigh religious stupidity.
Question everything and do whatever Dieter says.
Bye.